Children are often told stories with dark subtext. Little Red Riding Hood revolves around a young girl being targeted by a cunning pursuer who wishes to eat her. Hansel and Gretel follows the trail of two siblings abandoned by their parents and are later lured in and captured by a malevolent witch. These are retold to teach children lessons regarding strangers, instilling the importance of being wary of the unknown. One figure emerged in Victorian London that may well exact the same cautionary tale. Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street, first appeared as a villain in an 1846 to 1847 Penny Dreadful, A String of Pearls, and became a local urban legend within London. The lore goes as follows. A barber would take out his customers with a straight razor and bring the bodies to the baker Mrs. Lovett, who would bake them into pies, selling them to the unknowing punters of London. This story has been adapted numerous times, from stage plays to Tim Burton's 2007 film version. But is there any truth to the gruesome myth? It's no secret that Victorian London, 1837 to 1901, was a brutal place for most, the average life expectancy being as low as 50 in 1850 due to sickness and poverty. Daily life was a struggle of survival, and worse yet, even darker factors were at play, particularly within the vicinity of Fleet Street, London. In 1863, Sir Richard Francis Burton and Dr. James Hunt founded the Victorian Dining Club associated with the Anthropological Society, the Cannibal Club. So named apparently due to Burton's interest in consuming other people. The Cannibal Club was held in Bertoloni's dining rooms near Fleet Street. There is, however, no evidence that the members engaged in more than all-male adult activities and some hearty racism, with the sigil of the group reportedly being an image of an African chewing on a bone. So there's that. Fleet Street yet again had a shadow looming over it with the 1888 spree of Jack the Ripper. In a letter believed to be written by the perpetrator of 5 yeetings, they claimed to have eaten half of one of the victim's kidneys, most likely belonging to the 4th victim, Catherine Eddowes. Her kidney had been removed post-mortem. These are 2 of the few cases in which cannibalistic desires were either mused upon or acted on during Victorian London. Fact is, most cases of British citizens consuming another person occurred overseas while on expedition or whilst a crew was lost at sea. In 1845, the last survivors of the Captain Sir John Franklin lost Arctic expedition in Canada only managed to pull through by resorting to cannibalism. After the Cospatrick disaster in 1874, wherein a sailing ship caught fire between Gravesend, England and Auckland, New Zealand, only 3 of the 472 people on board survived, living off the blood and livers of those lost in the incident. A massive historical case occurred in 1884 with R versus Dudley and Stevens. The Mignonette, a sailing ship, was cast away from the Cape of Good Hope, South Africa. They were stranded for approximately 24 days, the 5th to the 29th of July. On the 24th or 25th, 17-year-old cabin boy Richard Parker had his life ended by 2 of the other crew members, Tom Dudley and Edwin Stevens, with the last member, Edmund Brooks, objecting. Parker had fallen unconscious, and Dudley and Stevens decided to put him out of his misery and to sustain themselves off of him. This case was monumental as the leading English criminal case to establish a precedent throughout the common law that necessity is not a defence of the charge of yeeting. Both Dudley and Stevens were found guilty, sentenced to the death penalty with a recommendation for mercy, but due to the concern of public backlash, both received 6 months imprisonment. Perhaps another case can speak to the inspiration for Sweeney Todd. In the 14th century side shops of Paris, France, a butcher became one of the best known, compliments flooding in for his pies. The shop so happened to be close to a barber's shop. The pair were allegedly in cahoots, the barber targeting foreign students to provide to the butcher. According to the story, a German student managed to escape, leading to the arrest of both men, who were later hung. However, this is actually the story of a folk song that was published in 1387, which is the year in which both men were said to have been hung. This Parisian legend has been cited as an inspiration for the Sweeney Todd London-based myth, but I can't find any statements or references that the author of the Penny Dreadful had even heard of this folk song or this case. Maybe I'm missing something, or maybe it was just never mentioned. But I would have thought he would have said something if it were an inspiration for the story. While the evidence demonstrates that rumours of a villainous barber that supplies an equally corrupted baker with human flesh are false, I do find it rather strange that Fleet Street is the focal area for darker activity within Victorian London. The creation of Sweeney Todd came 17 years before the foundation of the Cannibal Club, and 42 years before Jack the Ripper's rampage. The Demon Barber was not inspired by this organisation or by the Ripper crimes, and neither of these parties make references to allude that they were influenced by this legend. Scholars mostly dispute Sweeney Todd was not a real person. But what if underground activities came to the surface and were shared amongst those in Fleet Street to give the writer of A Penny Dreadful an idea? What if something like this was happening right under the authorities' noses? The problem with poverty was so overwhelming that many would struggle to have to find a decent cut of meat. So what if a person or a group of people were doing something like this, and it was just never discovered? After all, there's no smoke without fire.